Hey everyone, this is LuckySevenDX. Welcome back to Let's Play Okamiden. The last episode we explored the Goryeo. We're back 9 months in the past, and we got ourselves a conch shell. We're going to go summon Otohime and make our way to the Sage Shrine in order to get the Knowing Jewel. Boy, that was a mouthful. By the way, I'm going to actually go ahead and say this now. Thanks to someone who mentioned that that Benkei person, he's actually in Okami. I completely forgot there's a section of Okami where Benkei, you actually help Benkei catch a cutlass fish. And get the living sword, and then after that he becomes a fisherman because he realizes that his goal of getting swords is silly. But Benkei is actually a character in Okamiden, or in Okami, and Okamiden, once again, this whole 9 months thing, is a bunch of different ways that the game sort of fulfills, or sort of gives backstory to characters and events in Okami, Benkei being one of them. So you actually get backstory of I'm Benkei from Okamiden. So whoever, I forget the name of the person who pointed that out, but that's just really cool. Like, totally blew my mind. There's just so many little shout-outs to Okami in this whole section of Okamiden. And it's really, like, this part of the game, this whole going back to the past thing, that really, really makes the game start to get really good, in my opinion. Like, this makes up for all the earlier shitty plot. Which, okay, I guess it really doesn't, but I just think, like, the game ends on a really, really great note. Not that I'm saying it's going to end anytime soon, but just from here on out, things just get really good in terms of the plot, and I really like where the direction that the game goes from here. Anyways, this is speaking of previous characters from Okami. This is Otohime. We met her back then. However, we do know that there was some sort of trouble with Otohime back in Okami. I wonder where this game's plot's going to go. But we're going to keep that in mind for later. Basically, and also, of course, Otohime recognizes Chibi, and this is actually the first time a character actually calls him Chibi, or for the longest time, not the first time, but for the longest time. So look at that, Kurow. He's not boy, he's not dude, he's Chibi. Call me by my proper name, boy. But basically, Akuro, Otohime, unfortunately, does not know anything about Akuro, but we're going to need Otohime's help in order to get to the Sage Shrine and do this. So yeah, me and you, Kurow, we're gonna do it. We're gonna go to the Sage Shrine, we're gonna kick some ass, bottom of the sea. Let's do it. And yeah, of course, she fell for the presence of a demon. I like Otohime. She's a pretty cool character. So yeah, as usual, our goal is to hunt down Akuro, find some information. But first, we're doing some reconnaissance, I guess, find out some information on him, so on and so forth. But what Otohime needs to do, for those of you who haven't played Okami, she can transform into the Water Dragon. And we're going to have to help her do so. I forget if you need to help her, if this is something that happens in Okami, is you need to help her become the Water Dragon. I don't really remember the details necessarily of what happens there, but we're actually going to have to do a little bit of helping in order to become a Water Dragon, and that's going to, once again, like most sort of these segments, we're going to have to draw a bunch of blooms, basically, because Bloom is just a multi-purpose brush skill. It cleanses spirits, it exorcises demons, it makes mermaids transform into dragons. Of course, it also makes things flower and bloom and stuff, so anyway, you have to draw a bloom on all these little points, and then her transformation will happen. I mean, yeah, you're using brush skills, and that's kind of cool, but really, is this necessary? Is this really necessary? It's kind of a waste of time in a sense, so I don't know. And that was definitely a proper bloom. Bullshit. Yeah, see what I mean? And now because of this, we have to see this whole cutscene and blah blah blah, and he's like, get it together. Well, yeah, that was a proper bloom. Screw you, Kurow. Next time, if you ever have to draw any more of those mass things, I'm going to make sure yours is trolling even harder than before, douchebag. Anyways, yes, you said that the first time. Hey, the sun's my property. Get back off, boy. You already have a girlfriend. Her name's Scholar. That's right, your girlfriend doesn't even have a name. Her only name, I don't think you even ever learned her name. I forget, like, I don't know that 100% for sure. But I believe the only name she gets is Scholar. Maybe that's her actual name. Like, just like Old Sailor, you know, just awkward names all the way across the sky. And of course, Captain. His name's obviously Captain. So there, see, that was a proper bloom. Screw you, game. And then we have to do one more here. Do we do the fifth one? I forget. Is this the final one? Please be the final one. I'm sick of blooming things. Are we done yet? No, of course, we have to do one more. This has to be the last one. Come on, we're blooming her heart. Where can you go from there? Where can we even bloom? We've bloomed each of her head, each of her arms, her legs. Yeah, there we go. And of course, she's going to now transform, just like a Luma, into a galaxy. No, not quite. Why did I just reference Super Mario Galaxy in an Okamiden video? That doesn't make any sort of sense. None of the senses. But, it's the Water Dragon. Pretty badass looking dragon right there. sort of roaring at us and causing whirlpools. You'd think that the fact that we're on a boat, that'd be just a little bit terrifying, but you know, we trust Otohime. She's a cool person. She surely wouldn't trash our boat. That would just be rather rude. But yep, she's a water dragon now, so we can now board her or something, go on top of her head, and we're going to make our way over to the Sage Shrine. So let's do it, Kurow. Me and you. Kurow? Kurow. You're definitely sweating a lot, buddy. Yeah, there's whirlpools back there. Okay, cool. Dude, you okay? I mean, we actually got a hint of this last episode, but, psst. Kurow's afraid of the sea. I mean, everyone has their fears. I have my fears, you have your fears. And Kurow has his fears. He's not perfect either, despite how arrogant and douchey he can be at times. And the captain's like, oh, who's afraid of getting his panties wet? Best line ever. Captain, you are the best captain. You have a boat for a head, and a head for a boat. And I freaking love that. And you talk about getting panties wet. That actually sounds rather dirty now that I phrased it like that. Oh boy. Oh boy. But Kurow is going to go off on his own for a little bit. Really just kind of convenient plot device for us to get a recurring character, or a returning character is what I meant to say. Nanami is back, guys. Believe it or not, we actually get to use her once more for a little bit. Which is just all the awesome. I mean, come on, it's Nanami. We missed her. Do you miss us, Nanami? You're just freaking awesome. We're gonna have a nice group hug and reunion and stuff like that. Because obviously you remember us. I mean, come on, we did all the awesome battles we had in the past and all that stuff. And wait a minute, this is 9 months in the past. Shit. Yep, this is actually, remember how back then Nanami was like, hey, I've met you before, why don't you remember me? That's because we actually did meet her before in the past. So wibbly wobbly timey wimey, this is even though back then that was the first time we met her, this is now the first time she meets us. And this is actually the origin of Squiddy. We finally learned where Squiddy came from. And Kurow just gives the audience a little obvious, hey, remember we're in the past, don't forget we're in the past. Hey guys, we're in the past. Guys, past. 9 months ago, past. You haven't met her yet, guys, past. Thanks for the hand-holding, Kurow. Go ahead and fly off, go get your panties wet some more. No, don't spin your flute, you have no dignity, you have wet panties. Go away. But I do like his little salute, though. Nanami, but yeah, me and Nanami, I do kind of find interesting that we do have an explanation for why she knew us before. It wasn't sort of any sort of amnesia thing that you might have thought. It's actually this whole time travel stuff. Which, if you remember, there was another character who mentioned that we met him before in the past. I won't say who. You guys remember? You guys remember? If you don't, well, you can see later on. But hints at characters we'll be meeting in the future. Nanami, once again, you cannot move on land. Stop trying. But this is going to be the beginning of Chibi and Nanami's friendship, except, well, what is the beginning? Because it's the beginning of the friendship from Nanami's side, I guess, because we're technically already her friend. We fought battles, we had a whole boss fight with her, yeah, all is well. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and ride. I mean, rather convenient that we get a mermaid, though, because we're going to the bottom of the ocean. I think someone who can travel on water might be just a touch more useful. I don't know, just saying. Anyways... as you can see, we're just quickly making our way over the Sage Shrine, just lightning fast. It's actually right here. That's rather convenient, Nice marker, just, rainbow-colored water. Surely there's not anything special down there. No siree. You guys did a wonderful job at hiding the Sage Shrine. Then again, how many things can go to the bottom of the ocean, and how many of those things could take a water dragon? Probably not many. I'd like to see Akuro even do that. Who knows if he can even... Oh, of course he can probably breathe. He'd probably just fire a freaking spirit bomb or whatever the hell he does down there. But Nanami does have the dry jewel. Once again, kind of useful that we have her. How else would we get down here if we didn't have the dry jewel? The dry jewel. That's kind of a mouthful to say as well. But it's going to give us access down there. And now the two of us can make our way down there. Obviously, the water dragon not going to be able to help us. Why can't you help us, Otohime? Why can't you be our partner? That would have been cool. I want to see Chibi and Otohime just team up and take on the world. But nope, she's too busy doing mermaid queen water dragon-y things, I guess. And we jump. We just jumped down there. We probably just break our backs and our necks and everything else, but unfortunately that's not what the game does. I guess there's still water down there or something. Sage Shrine. You're a little small, Sage Shrine. You're kind of tiny. Huh. well, what are we going to do about that? Well, the answer is actually in the seashell over here. What we need to do is bloom it quickly. So we're going to bloom the seashell here. And inside, we're going to find yet another reference to Okami. This is, well, it's not going to actually tell us quite yet. Here we go. Tell us, Nami, what is this thing? No, I don't care about the celestial brush. You already, okay, you don't already know that we do that, but blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's why she didn't react when we used the celestial brush before. She already knows from back then. Anyways, it's the Lucky Mallet. For those of you who don't recognize this from Okami, this mallet causes can cause people to shrink or grow, according to how you do it. And Nanami, she's gonna have a bit of fun if this demonstrates properly. She's just sort of sitting there and just shrinking and growing chibi, just for the lulz. If you remember, we used this to sneak inside Cyan Palace back in Okami, and we had this whole section of Isun being as big as we were, which was really freaking awesome. But if you remember, if you guys have played Okami before, remember back to where you got the magic mallet, or the lucky mallet. The lucky mallet, hey, it's my mallet! This is my mallet, yay! But remember where you got the lucky mallet, and the pieces might slowly be coming together as to what's happening here. Very interesting how they give the backstory as to where the lucky mallet came from, and how it ended up where it was in Okami. I did kind of hint at some things, but by now you should really be able to piece together what's going to happen. But really interesting how they make this backstory, and how it actually works seamlessly with Okami. Like, this had to have been planned almost, because it works so perfectly. I guess maybe it's not the hardest plot to make, but it does work really well the way they did this. I mean, what the Lucky Mallet was doing at the bottom of the sea, I mean, who knows? But, you know, being a legendary treasure, being near a tiny shrine like this, they probably put it there for a reason, because, you know, it is kind of the key inside the stage shrine. Speaking of which, we're going to be taking away from the stage shrine. We're kind of not going to be able to, no one's going to be able to come back here ever again. Anyway, we're tiny, we're in the tiny little stage shrine, and we're actually fighting tiny demons, apparently, even though you fight these demons in normal size later on, so kind of a bit odd how this works. But I don't actually remember the name of these people off the top of my head. Drat. But as you can see, they're basically a water-based anime. They shoot water lasers at us, I suppose. I'm a fire in my laser. But the weakness to this one, you would think it would be fire, because, you know, water's weak to fire, the ice fangs, but the weakness is actually wind. So use wind, use your Gale Storm to basically blow it away. Just do it whenever it spawns in that human form. Also stay away from it when it's in this form, it'll try to suck you in. But whenever this happens, just summon a Gale Storm, you'll stun it immediately. And you can go ahead and slash it to death. 2 times with this light sword should be enough to take care of it. However, if you want the demon item from it, do not use, it's not Gale Storm you need to use, it's actually a Power Slash. So Power Slash that core, and you'll actually get, this is the first time we can ever get a demon liver. So there we go, we got the third example. We're going to want to get a bunch of these so we can upgrade our 3 weapons later on, because we do have the lucky coins now. So the next time we get access to the Yakushi village, which arguably won't be for a while, we'll actually be able to upgrade our weapons. So we're going to want to have plenty of demon livers for that. In fact, at some point when we get to that point, I'll probably grind for some demon livers just so we can get all 3 of them at once. It'd be a nice, fun time. Anyway, I'm saving here, and I recommend you guys save here too, because out of everywhere in the game, this is probably the most likely spot you'll get a game over, especially if you're going for 100%, and I'll explain why later on, because we get this sort of 2D side-scrolling segment. But unlike the thing with the Demon Queen, or the Witch Queen, back in the Demon Mark of Kurow, if you get caught here, as in if you get like squishy, all sort of 2D platformer style, get squishied against anything, it's an instant game over. So be very careful to not squishy by yourself. Go ahead and use Power Slash and all sorts of things, and I'm just surprised that worked. I feel like I kind of lost my brush there for a little bit. Also, make sure you kill the 2 enemies you're going to find here, these little weird-looking things. And you're going to find jellyfish later on. Make sure you kill both of them. These are the only parts in the game you can actually find these enemies, and if you don't actually kill one of them, they won't end up in your creature book. And if they don't end up in your creature book thing, you won't end up getting something. If you don't get the 100% creature guide, you won't get a goodie in the post game. So make sure you kill those 2 guys. Now, what I recommend you use here, I do recommend glaives for the weapons, just because it does one-shot these things. But as you're going to see later on, for a certain segment, I'm going to be actually using a different weapon for once in a very long time. Also, there's a bunch of treasures here. Most of them are useless stuff like holy bones and items and stuff like that. But there is one mastery down here, and that's where you're probably going to end up dying, because that mastery, if you do not know it's coming and you're not prepared for it, you can easily die there. You'll see later on when I actually do it. I died so many times there. This is probably, I mean, A is the only place I've ever gotten a game over in this game to begin with, but B, it's the only place I've actually, well, it's the only place I've ever gotten a game over. So really, it's the only time I've ever lost, and I've lost many times here. So I guess by default, this is the hardest place in the game, technically. If you want to just solely go by game overs. So basically, be really careful in this place, because it is not easy. It's not as easy as it looks. I mean, so far it hasn't been too bad. Also, the dodgy purple things, some of them don't fall down, by the way, so just keep in mind that they're just sort of stationary obstacles. You douchebag! Die! I'm just going to sort of kill these guys just for the sake of doing it. You don't really need a charged hit, just one normal hit will kill these enemies with the glaives, because just glaives are so wickedly powerful. I'm not sure about reflectors. I know the rosaries will not kill these things in one hit. So I don't recommend using rosaries for the main part. I guess I sort of hinted. I'll go ahead and say this now. There's going to be a part in this segment where the rosaries... Oh, wait, actually, before I talk, this is where the masterpiece is. Just take damage, go as far away as you can, quickly get that, because as you can see, you have to back up a little bit and make your way around before you get squished. And this thing goes really fast, so if you don't get the masterpiece right away, like all the way on the right, you could easily run out of time and get squished. Especially if you take damage and you sort of stall getting the masterpiece. So rush forward, just take the first hit so you can avoid the second one a bit easier, just because from invincibility frames. Grab the masterpiece and go, or because you're gonna die really fast. Also, make sure you remember for this segment, upside down U is how you separate things. So always do an upside down U on these doors. And as you can see, we're just have to slash and use brush skills on all the things here. It's not an easy segment, so just keep your brush skills up. Make sure you're far ahead. Make sure for that segment you know that mastery's there. You just hurry up and get it, because I died so many times trying to get that mastery. It's a lot harder than it looks, believe me. You really need to take that first hit and just go. Getting that masterpiece without taking a hit, that's almost impossible, I think. Well, it's obviously possible, but it's not worth it. It is not worth it, believe me. Anyways, we did kill both the enemies. We got the masterpiece we need here, so technically in terms of 100%, we have everything we need. I'll still pick up the remaining treasures just to show them off regardless, because that's just what I do. A cool guy, pick up all the treasures, and just kill all the things. But like I was saying, this back when I got the rosaries, I mentioned that I hate the rosaries, and I never like to use them except for one segment in the game. That segment's coming up here in this underwater section, because when you have this sort of 2D thing, the rosary becomes this really sweeping attack that hits pretty much almost everything on screen, because it has a ridiculous range. However, it doesn't do enough damage to kill these enemies, and because of that, I do not recommend using rosaries for this section, because you can't one-shot the enemies anyway. And A, that makes them a lot harder to kill. Like, you're going to really stress yourself to get those kills, and you need those kills for your creature thing, so make sure you get those kills. I'm going to stay up here, just take the hit, because there's actually a treasure up here, and I want to make sure I get it, this treasure, even though I could have easily gone up from here. There's no reason, I mean, it does, like, what, a quarter of your health, a quarter of a thing? We have 10 of those things. I'm not worried about taking damage. Like I could take 40 of those hits to be fine, so just, honestly, don't worry about taking hits here. Those enemies tend to drop a lot of health things anyways, you've noticed. So, really don't, like, if you have to choose between taking a hit and getting a treasure, just take the hit. There's no reason to worry. And the final treasure is going to be up here. It is an Infinity S, kind of a useful item. But we're actually at the end of this main section. There's one more thing we need to take care of before we have this area complete. And that's where things are going to start to get a bit interesting, and where I'm going to actually use the rosaries, because they're very useful. They're not useful for killing the enemies here, because you're too busy having to move forward. There's not enough time to attack them and take your time. You move too fast for that low damage output to be useful, is what I'm trying to say. But over here, believe it or not, we have a boss fight. So suddenly, boss out of nowhere in a sort of 2D environment, which is really interesting. A sort of 2D underwater boss, something very unique. As you see, you can sort of sweep in there and attack this guy and do damage that way. But all these red bubbles are really hard to dodge, and all those other attacks just make it really hard to dodge, having to go at such close range. Look at the range of the rosary here. The range for this rosary is ridiculous. You can hit this guy from so far away and then focus on dodging the red bubbles as well. Plus, it gives you plenty of time to dodge this spinning attack. I do believe you can use Galestorm to negate his spinning attack, but I'm not entirely sure how that goes, so I don't really tend to use it. I personally just like using rosaries for this guy and just sort of hacking at him. It's a slow process, but it's fast enough where you can actually still get a perfect timing rank anyway. And it just makes this attack so much easier to avoid. You can do a lot of damage to him while he's even attacking you, especially in later phases. Eventually, by the way, his arms are going to turn red, and eventually they'll actually blow up. So our first goal is actually to destroy all of his arms here, which should take about half of his health. So just keep attacking them. That was close. Keep hacking away at him. And I mean, yeah, it's a slow process. The rosary does not do much damage, but it's a lot safer than using the glaive. Honestly, if you use the glaives, you're just going to take so much damage in the end, and it's not worth it. Just use the rosary, just hack away at him from afar, and he will go down fast enough for you to get what you need in terms of a good ranking. Ow! Didn't quite avoid that one yet. And there we go, actually destroy his two things. As you can see, we're about at half health, and now we move on to phase 2 of this fight, where basically he's a giant core. And basically he's going to shoot giant water lasers at us. And this is also where rosary has become very useful, because glaives, you need to be perfectly horizontal with him to attack with someone with a glaive. The rosaries, you can attack at an above angle or below angle, which means while he's firing his laser, you can still do damage to him, and also you don't have to stay horizontal from him all the time, so you're not going to be in immediate harm from the laser to begin with. And then his other attack is still a spinning attack like this. So that's basically the two attacks you have to deal with, although he does have a variation of the laser as well, which we're going to see later on. But basically just, ow, did not plan that out very well. Like I said, rosaries here are very useful. Just keep hacking. The only time, like I said, the only time in the game where I always use glaives once I get them, because I think they're the best weapon in the game, period. But this is the only point in the game that I actually choose to use rosaries. Now, as you can see, later on when he gets to low health, he's actually going to start firing these in a spiral. The good news is you can actually still get a few swipes at him. Not as many, though, because you should really focus on moving in a clockwise motion to dodge him. But even with this harder to dodge attack, the rosaries are still long range enough where you can actually still do damage to him, and that's just cool overall. I mean, the amount, it lets you basically constantly attack him instead of doing like 1 or 2 powerful attacks while he's in between doing phases, and probably ending up taking damage in the process. And as you can see, there we go. He's actually dead, so he won. And as you can see, it's enough for a perfect score. So, rosaries, very, very safe option for this guy. I definitely recommend it. Anyway, guys, that's all for this episode. It's LuckySevenDX signing out. We've made our way through the waterway, and in the next episode, we're going to make our way to the main part of the Sage Shrine and see if we can find the Knowing Jewel and learn about Akuro. So yeah, guys, see you next time. Bye-bye.